Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today, well, I'm not doing a car review as such, but instead I thought I'd just have a chat with you about something which has been bothering me. This last week I've had a couple of experiences which has led me to ask the question, why are mechanics such negative people? At some point during the City and Guilds there must be a chapter entitled Doom and Gloom, and they all pass with flying colours. They really are glass half empty people, and it just makes me wonder where it all stems from. Now luckily, after doing this job for many years, I've managed to separate the wheat from the chaff. And now I just stick with half a dozen or so mechanics that I know and trust, which means I know where to take whichever car. So if it's a BMW, it's Darren Wood. If it's a Mercedes, it's SPR. For my everyday stuff, it's my local garage, who I take 80% of my work to. So that's all fine, but it did take me a few years to figure out who to use and who not to use. This week, for example, I've had a few dealings with mechanics from various parts of the country who I've not used before, and it made me realise they're all the same. I think it's a global issue, actually. The first situation was with an older, cheaper car that I sold, and after a couple of days the customer called me to say that they'd had a few issues with it and they couldn't really afford to bring the car back to me, so I suggested they go to their local trusty mechanic, have them call me with a quote to fix it, and I'll just pay them over the phone. It saves them the cost and time to bring it back to me. Everyone's happy, or so I thought. So the next day I got a call from their mechanic who had all the joy and optimism as Eeyore sat on Beachy Head. It's not good news, I'm afraid, he said, secretly happy to be the bearer of bad news, as they always are. So I inquired further. Well, it's quite a long list, I'm afraid. Right, okay, go on then. To be honest, I don't know whether it's worth repairing or not. You might have to have it back. So I thought, this can't be right. This car has been through our workshop, and yes, it's an older car, so it might have a slight leak from here or slight seepage from a shock absorber, or something like that. There was nothing there that was dangerous, so I thought this just can't be right. Anyway, he said, I don't think it's worth repairing. So I thought this just isn't right, this. So I said, please can you work out a price for me to correct it? That way the customer regains trust in the car and in me. The car doesn't have to go to the giant scrapyard in the sky. We can avoid a small claims court, and also I won't have Dominic Littleknob knocking on my door, thrusting a microphone in my face, telling me how despicable I am. So he said, well, yeah, okay, give me a couple of hours then to work it out. Right, okay, fine. So a few hours later he called me back and he said, right, are you sitting down? Yes, okay, get on with it then, because I've got a million things to do. Just tell me the price. Well, I can't get the parts from an aftermarket supplier, so I've got to go to the main dealer. So that'll add quite a bit onto it. And with the VAT, it's going to be £227. I beg your pardon? £227? 2 hours ago, you were ready to scrap this car because it was unroadworthy and dangerous, and now it just needs 200 quid spending on it. Talk about mounting out of a molehill. I didn't know whether to laugh or call the guy an idiot for making such a big fuss about it. Naturally, before he'd worked out the price, he told the customer what a death trap it was. Now it shouldn't be on the road and wasn't fit for purpose. Which then caused the customer then to call me in floods of tears, accusing her of ripping her off. I mean, was that all really necessary for a £200 job, including VAT? Such a farce. And this is the kind of thing that I get on a fairly regular basis. It's all so unnecessary. Now, my second experience was with a Vauxhall Insignia that was in limp mode. I know what you're thinking, Kel Surprise. There are more Vauxhalls limping around the UK than probably any other car. Anyway, so because, again, the customer was quite away from me, I asked him to take it to his local mechanic and get them to diagnose it to save him the hassle of bringing it all the way back to me. Because, as hopefully you figured out from all this, I'm a good egg generally. So the mechanic then called me, said, we've been scratching our heads with this. I think it's a turbo. Right, okay, well fine. Could you price it up for me? Well, we're busy at the moment, and I can't guarantee that it is a turbo, but we think that that's what it is. They're just too complicated, these modern cars. Thinking, well, it's a 10-year-old Insignia, not a Saturn V rocket. Just get on with it. Let me pay you the bill and get the customer back in his car. Everyone's happy. Well, it might be the turbo, it might be this, might be that. I just don't want to get involved. You having a laugh? So, right, fine. I asked the customer then to bring the car back to me so I could take it to my trusty mechanic, who resolved it in 48 hours. It wasn't a turbo, it was just the actuator. This is exactly what I'm talking about. They are doom and gloom merchants. They put the fear of God into the customer, make the customer think that I've ripped them off somehow, And it's just all so unnecessary. All we're asking them to do is do the job which they advertise they do. Get on with it. The trouble with this job is you spend most of your time fighting fires, and in the end I've learned that it's better to just throw money at problems to make them go away, rather than get too worked up with them, because it's just not worth it. Cars break, everybody should know that, so don't call me shouting and screaming, because I can't possibly know that a turbo actuator is going to break 6 weeks after you bought the car. I've not got a crystal ball, I'm not Mystic Meg. Another gripe that I've got is mechanics love to tell the customers how they've been ripped off. So I'll sell a car to a customer that I don't know. 2 weeks down the line, that customer will take it into their local garage for something simple like a bulb or a puncture. And the mechanic will get chatting with them. They'll say, hang on a minute, you paid how much for this? My mate's just saw one of these, it's far nicer than this, and he only got X amount for it. I think you've been ripped off. There, love. All right, well, cheers for that, pal. Thanks very much. Or they'll get it in for a puncture repair, and it'll be, your cross member's a bit rusty, or, one of your shock absorbers is leaking a little bit. Thanks very much for that. You just wouldn't expect to have some surface rust on a cross member on a 12-year-old car, would you? That dealer's ripped you off. You know what, if I were you, I'd get straight on the phone to the dealer you got it from and tell them you want to reject it. It's not fit for purpose. They have to give you a refund, Alright, cheers. All most of us are trying to do is earn an honest living selling used cars. Everyone accepts that they break, but one of the biggest obstacles is mechanics. The worst offenders for this, by the way, are the big brands on the high street. So your ATSs, your Quick Fits, your Halfords. This has happened to me countless times. I don't know, 2 months after somebody's bought a car off me, a 10-year-old car, for example, they take it into a Euromasters or a ATS or a whatever they're called, Halfords, for a puncture repair or something like that. And while it's in, they'll do a free health check, which is very good of them, don't you think? So then they go back to pick up their £10 puncture repair job, and they get given an estimate for £1,500 because it needs 4 new tyres, new exhaust system, new discs and pads, and a new turbo and a partridge in a pear tree. So then naturally the customer gets straight on the phone to me in floods of tears, accusing me of ripping them off, all because that company is trying to drum up more business. I see it all the time, honestly. They're terrible for that. They all err on the side of depression. For example, I used to use a mechanic in Spain who was a Brummie fella, actually. Now, without offending the whole of the black country, that accent lends itself to pessimism, doesn't it? So I'd call him up and I'd say, hi pal, I've just bought a 5 Series BMW, for example. And he'd say, oh, well, somebody had to buy one. Haha, very droll, yes. Can you fix my juddering brakes or my misfiring engine? We're busy at the minute, Matt. They just corked the parts. Okay, right, well, when can you fit me in then? 3 weeks' time, a month's time? When can you do it? What if you bought one of them for? Them crap, them. Bought me missus one of them. Who rated it? Yes, right, well, I don't really want your opinion. I just want you to fix my car, which is what you say you do. So can you do it or not? This is what you're up against. Now, as I said earlier, luckily now I only use a handful of garages who I'm fiercely loyal to, and they just get on with it. They know how I operate. I'm not going to quibble about a bill. Just get on with it, please, and fix it. But it took me a very long time to get to that point, to separate who were the idiots and who were the decent ones. I've just got no time for pessimism or negativity. Just get on with it. I don't want to hear that I should have bought an old Corolla because they're bulletproof. Just get on with fixing my old Mercedes or old BM or whatever the car is that's in for repair. Just get on with it. Because had I bought an old Corolla that's bulletproof, your daughter now wouldn't have a pony, or you wouldn't have that caravan on Abersock. Do you know what I mean? So just get on with it. Be grateful that you've got lots of idiots out there who are passionate about the cars, who will pay you vast sums of money to just fix the job. Other mechanics I've used, now I've experienced this loads of times over the years, will call you up. So, for example, I'll drop off a car for a new clutch. Then they'll call me up that afternoon. Hi Matt, it's so-and-so at the garage. Yeah, right, okay. You know that car you dropped off this morning? Yes, right. Well, it's bad news. It's the water pump's leaking. Right, okay. Does it need doing? Yeah, it's quite serious. It's leaking quite badly. Right, okay. Well, can you do it for me? Can you price it up for me? Yeah, I've priced it up for you. It's £16. Get on with it. haven't got time for this. Why have you bothered putting your tools down to pick up the phone to tell me it's 16 quid? Just do it, add it to the bill, and let me pay for it on Friday. I won't quibble. Just get on with it, please. Another example of this is I'll drop something off for, say, a cam belt, and then a couple of hours later the mechanic will call me and he'll say something like, right, Matt, it's not good news this. We've taken your old cam belt off and we've noticed that your sprocket valve return flange needs a new spring. All right, okay, well, is it important? Yeah, it's quite important. Right, okay, could you do it then for me? How much is it? Well, the spring's £3 and I've spoken to the supplier and we've missed today's delivery, so it's going to be tomorrow now. Right, okay, fine, crack on with it then. I'll pick it up tomorrow. Cheers, see ya. I don't need the theatrics, just get on with it. I don't need some Oscar-winning performance to try and justify your price. Just please do the job and then call me when it's done. I don't want to hear any negativity. I don't want to hear how bad it was, how rusty it was. Just do it. I know it's not the nicest job in the world. In the winter it's too cold, in the summer it's too hot, it's dirty, messy, unrewarding. I get all that. But they're fairly well paid. They get weekends off, mostly. You get regular visits from the Snap-on man. You get to work in a place full of pictures of Jade, 23 from Essex, with her boobs out. I mean, there are worse places to work, so why such abject depression? I don't know if you've had experiences with mechanics like this, but if you have, please get in touch because I'll be intrigued. Or better yet, if you are a mechanic, let me know in the comments below, because is that part of the training? You know, when you get to a customer's car, you open the bonnet, is it part of your training to wince and sigh loudly and say, this is going to be expensive, this, you know, parts are dear on these, or, oh, these are a right pain in the neck to work on this, you know. Is that part of your training? Because you all seem to do it. They just seem to be the most pessimistic people in the world. I think if you told a mechanic that he'd won the lottery, his reaction would be, oh great, now I've got to open a savings account. It's a strange phenomenon, really. Anyway, thank you once again for watching. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't done already. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the link below. And yeah, cheers guys. I'll see you next time.